If you were ever able to get inside my mind and hear my thoughts, you would understand very quickly that they fray in a bunch of different directions. Professionally, I was a hockey player and now I'm a coach. So one would think that that's what I live and breathe, but that's not the case at all, actually. Though I love what I do, there is so much outside of the game that I'm hugely passionate about. I love music, guitars, motorcycles, the arts, and I've even come to love history and geography through my travels, if you can believe it. My podcast is about all of these things, and I speak with some really cool people that I've met throughout my career and let the conversation kind of take off. So join me inside my brain and welcome to my Motley Thoughts. My guest today, I'm super pumped about to have on the podcast. He's actually, get this, he's actually the first person on my pod that I coached. So this should be cool. Born in Slovakia, he came over to Canada to play junior hockey, was drafted in the second round by Colorado Avalanche in 2001. He went on to play pro for 17 years, I think, with the Colorado organization, along with Montreal, Winnipeg, LA, and Tampa. He's a fellow Olympian and an all-around awesome guy. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome my dear friend, Mr. Peter Budaj.
Thank you very much, Dusty. Thanks for having me on. This is going to be great. I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped actually. This one's a little different. Did you know I had Stutz on?
I did not know that. I would love to. Actually, speaking of Stutz, I just texted him because I was just thinking about him. But yeah, I would love to see that one because that must have been amazing. That must have been so cool.
Well, all I'll say is I don't know why, because he's an idiot, but it was my most downloaded podcast. It was pretty funny actually. I knew it. First of all, I didn't think he'd do it. So when I reached out to him, he shot me back as some sarcastic dickwad text, and then he's like, "I'll think about it." No, he goes, "I'll have to get back to you on that one," and he never did for a few days. And all of a sudden, he texts me, he goes, "So when are you doing this thing?" And then I set it up, and I knew if I had him on, it would be constant. He's a great storyteller. He's hilarious. And of course, it's exactly how it went down. And he ripped on me so much. He made some jokes about, me not wanting to put in the long hours. and all I did was go to lunch with Boots and Cal.
Yeah, I can totally see it with Stutzy. He's so great of saying the story. He's very captivating. Like the way he say it, like it just like it captures you and you want to listen to it. You're like all ears. Like it's amazing. Like I love the Stutzy would be amazing. I need to download that podcast, man.
Yeah.
I gotta watch it, man. That's gotta be amazing.
If there's actually I did a few good ones. There's some. Everybody's interesting in their own way, but the Stutz one was a lot of fun because it was just, he's one of those guys that you can kind of let take control of the conversation. And that's not a bad thing, and I kind of ripped on him. Like the podcast, actually it went on forever. And I looked at the time and I was like, oh my God, we're like at an hour and 45 minutes. And we hadn't even looked at the time. And I think he had to go to the can or something finally. We had to shut her down.
Everything works for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It was time.
Okay, so here's the thing, man. I told you before we started the pod that I was going to try and multitask here and do an Insta live. Well, I'm doing this pod. And first of all, I've never done an Insta live, so I have no idea. Checking connection.
Man, these social media, man, you either have it or you don't, man. I'm struggling with it so much. Like I have to YouTube videos, how to do this and how to put everything together. And some people just gets it so easily. Like it's crazy. Like some people just gets it so easily. It's a work for me. Like it's literally like if I want to do something with social media, man, like I have to figure out what to do, what to say, like how to set it up, how to approach people, like everybody needs a different approach, but there's like social media approach that some people just gets it, you know, like it's,
Yeah.
you know, I always love the interaction of like a, you know, face to face, you know, I always feel like that is the way. And I mean, this is face to face, but it's not like you're sitting at the, you know, at lunch at the Starbucks or something like that, or like, you know, when you're personally face to face. So this is a very unique thing. So I got to learn from you how you do this. So it's a pretty cool thing. You know, I'm excited.
Every time I watch your instas and stuff, I'm like, I keep texting your wife and say, hey, you got to teach this kid how to freaking do freaking
I have no idea. Like,
Instagram.
I mean, it doesn't, like my wife said, like I post something on the Insta, and my wife is like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, Was that bad?" Like I have no idea how to capture the people because I'm trying to be just like, you know, honest to the point. That's it. You know, I don't talk.
I'm on here. I got on the Insta here, and hang on a second here. Oh, there's a few people saying hello. There's just a few coming on here, but it's a really interesting thing. Me too. Like, and I would say I'm a little more tech savvy than you, but
For sure, absolutely.
but to turn something into, like, for example, just this podcast, to get it going and stuff, it was like a bit of an ordeal for me because, man, there's a lot of moving parts. But it's been a ton of fun up to this point. It actually has kept my sanity a little bit with what was going on, you know.
Uh, it seems like it's still going on. It's like never ending. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. I was going to ask you, you you moved to Arizona.
Mhm.
Whereabouts?
I live in Gilbert area, you know, so it's like maybe like 30-40 minutes from Scottsdale, and it's like a smaller place, but it's really cool, very nice. It's a good neighborhood, good school. You know, the ice rink from Gilbert from to me is only like 7 minutes drive, not even 5 minutes drive. So it's like right here. So if I want to do a lesson or something like that, it's pretty close, and it's kind of more centrally located. Like all the other rinks around, they're within like 25 to 30 minutes away, so it's
Oh
not
yeah.
bad because there's like so there's like the longest one is basically the Scottsdale, the Junior Coyotes, where actually my son plays because he's playing on double-A team. Because when we originally come here, we came a little bit late, so everything was already moving. So, and my parents-in-law had a place close to that rink, so we were able to, you know, sign him up while we were staying with my parents before I found a place to live. And then me and my wife talked about it, and this was a cool spot for, you know, it felt like more family. Like I think Scottsdale is amazing. Don't take me wrong, but it's kind of like a little Manhattan Beach. You know what I mean? Like it's more, it's busy and stuff like that. So it's super busy. And you know me as a person. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that as much.
Have you seen Biz?
I've talked to him a few times. I have not seen him personally. I've seen his podcast. I was actually chatting, maybe possibly going to one, but
Right.
I haven't seen him yet personally. But we've chatted a few times, so it's
That same time I told you that I asked Stutz to come
Mhm.
on the pod, I was like, you know what? To hell with it. I text Biz and I said, hey, I know this is a long shot and I know you're probably super busy, but doing this podcast now, and I'd love to have you on. And I thought I would get crickets, and he texted me back 30 seconds later and said, 100% in. And
Yeah.
I was like, no shit. I said, oh, awesome, man. But I knew, I'm not surprised by this or angry, but it's been now a few weeks, because every week it keeps getting pushed because he's like, dude, I'm just so
He's
swamped.
got a lot. He's got lots going on. Like, you know,
Yeah.
the way he has his business and everything else, and all the, you know, the bar stools and everything else. What's
Oh
new?
yeah.
Like it's so busy. And right now we live in an era that the bar stool is probably one of the most watched thing. You know, that they have fights on TV from Barstool guys. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, you know, like boxing matches and all the
Oh,
stuff. Like,
it's
it's
crazy.
huge. It's
It's
huge. It
crazy.
just blew up. Like, it's like whatever they touch, you know, it works. So I bet he's really busy with everything else. But I know that Biz is probably on his phone all the time.
Yeah.
So
He
that's why we get the respond right away. Me too. I actually texted him like when I first moved here, and I haven't talked to him for like a month. And I texted him. I'm like, "What's up, man? We're moving to Arizona and everything else." And he's like, "Yeah, just what's going on? Yeah, let's get you on a podcast and everything else." But I think he's got so much going on. It's hard for him to like coordinate stuff because stuff happens very quickly, and stuff in the sports world and everything else what he's involved with like happens a lot. So he needs to stay on top of that. So it's definitely time consuming for him to be doing that. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I told him. I said, "Hey, man, don't," because he's apologized a couple of times now for pushing it back. I said, whenever you can, I understand, because I could tell the way he texts me too. He was like he's trying to balance his life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So of all people, I get that. I understand. So just hopefully, if we ever get the chance, because I know it'll be pretty funny if I get him on.
Oh, that would probably beat Stutzy for downloads for sure.
Oh yeah, just by a little bit. That guy's major. Yeah. He's major.
Oh,
for sure.
If somebody can say stories, it's Stutzy, and then Biz got to beat though. I think Biz is an amazing storyteller, man. He's funny.
Hey, I was going to ask you. This might be a little bit too much for you to take on.
Let's try it. You don't never know.
Maybe I'll say yes. Do you have your phone?
I do have my phone. Yeah. So what's up? What can
I
do
do?
Here?
If you go on my Insta right now.
On your Insta, okay. Let's see.
It should, or just on the top where the stories are, my story should show up that I'm alive, maybe.
Yeah, I see you. I'm on live right now.
If you,
just on the top where the stories are. Yeah, I see you right now. Yeah, there you go.
So I see this part. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. Oh, there you are.
Request to join, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Send request?
I think so.
I gotta send you. Yeah, there you go. I send it to you, so you should have it.
View request, go live.
There you go. And I think I should be live.
Waiting for Budaj.
There you go.
Holy shit!
The things work, man. We're like 1950 people trying to figure out the internet, man.
Well, a few people had signed and then left because I think it was weird. You could only hear me talking.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear you, so it was kind of a waste for them to be on my Insta.
Can they hear me right now too?
Yeah, they can.
Because I had to mute my phone a little bit because I didn't want it to like
it's
kind of like elapsing.
Same, I could hear both as well, and I got to do that too.
I think if we just hear each other on one thing, I think we'll be fine on the other one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, somebody said Ahoj Pečko. Oh, that was in Slovak.
Sorry.
Like what?
It's kind of funny because like with the pods, people can't see on the pod. So sometimes when I re-listen and then I edit, I have to edit out stuff because there's all kinds of long pauses. And then if you ever, I'm a podcast listener now. So whenever I listen to a podcast that has tons of pauses and stuff, it really gets on me. But hey, do you have that too?
What?
On your wrist?
Oh, whoop. Yeah, all the time, man. I've been doing it since I was in Tampa, man.
No way.
I've been doing it for a long time, man. I've been doing it since like they first came out, like a long time ago. Well, actually, Alex Killorn from Tampa, I think one of his because the people from Harvard made it. Like they went to Harvard school to did it originally, I guess.
Right.
Or somehow. So he knew the people that were doing it. So basically I was just talking. I'm like, yeah, but like it's awesome. I enjoy it. I like it a lot. I actually keep looking at it, like the strain and the sleep and all the stuff that is going on. There's a lot of athletes do that, and I think it can be pretty captivating. Like you get really sucked into it and you kind of listen to it. But if you do listen to it, I do feel like you can recover better and you can get some good stuff. So whoop, if you're listening, throw us a couple stuff for free. I mean,
well, funny thing is, I heard about it on the pod. On I think I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he just raved about it, and I was like, for me, the biggest seller was the whole sleep thing because I have shitty sleep patterns.
I mean, pretty much everybody. Like, I mean, yourself, like with living the athlete's life and everything else. Either if you're a coach or player, I think the sleepless nights and everything else, like those are the tough ones. I think that you push your body to limits, and it's something that is pretty cool. That as I said, I was trying to explain to my wife, how that works. Sometimes you can sleep for 6 hours and have a better recovery than sometimes you sleep 8. So it's just very difficult. It's a very unique for everybody. And everybody is good, but I think this machine is pretty good. Like I like it. I enjoy it. I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah. I've only had it 2-3 months, but it really has helped me. And kind of once I get onto something, I kind of get a little bit crazy with it. So like I'm always
obsessed.
I'm like, holy shit, man, I got to go to bed, because it tells you what, how many hours you should get and stuff. And then it also has helped my training, because I was getting really old man workouts. Like it was getting really bad. Like I was like, fuck, I don't know if I want to even go in.
Are you kidding me? When I did the push-up challenge, man, you crushed me, man. It's because you weigh 120, man. I have to push 210 right now. I have to gain some poundage, man. I'm like, you kidding me? It doesn't matter how strong you are. It's just like you get down.
It's hilarious.
I've seen a lot of Slovaks names on this. That's awesome. Tampa Bay Lightning fan page. Oh, awesome.
When I did your intro, I write some stuff down for your intro, and and then I read it back to myself before, so I think I can get it down properly. And every time I saw where you're from, and I wanted to say souvlaki. Every single time I kept saying
that's a food. That's a Greek food, isn't it?
I kept saying, I couldn't help it.
Come on, English. Like, you speak Japanese, it's the hardest language to do anything with. Like, it's the hardest language probably to learn, with all the letters and everything else, the pronunciation. You got to be able to do that easily, man.
Speaking of Japan, I did make a couple things I wanted to talk about for sure with you. And during our time together, you always kept, every time you wanted to bring up, man, we got to go to Japan. We got to go to Japan. Me and you, Japan, we got to go. But I told you, I said, it's not a place for you and I now. It was a great
I know what
place.
you mean by that.
Yeah. It is. Maybe things have changed over there, but it was a definite man's world over there back when I played. But it is kind of neat, because your connection, your family, your wife, and her family, Taylor's has Japanese. It's her mom is
her mom is half, and her grandmother is 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So she's like 100% Japanese. So
okay.
And like we have a couple of relatives over from Japan, from her side of the family, obviously, and they came over here, and they're super cool people, and they always invite us. But we actually were maybe planning to go there last year, but I guess everything just fell apart with all this stuff going on. But I think once it gets better and everything opens up a little more, I think they would definitely like to go visit and check it out, especially even for my kids. That's their heritage too. And I do believe that it doesn't matter where you're from. I think you gotta be proud of it. So I always tell Taylor, we have to show the kids, obviously, Slovakia, go there, or if you want to go to Japan, see their heritage and everything else. I think it's important to know what they're molded from. It's pretty cool, and every culture can bring certain elements that the other culture can't. That's the beauty of it. So I think it would be really cool to go to Japan, man. I would really love to. It would be awesome.
It's actually, every time we had people come over and visit, they always said it was the best vacation they've ever had. And
everybody says that. I honestly, and it's not because I'm talking to you or whatever. My wife is, part Japanese, has nothing to do with it, but it's got literally every person that went there, either for a business, or I know actually a pilot who is and he said every time I flew to Japan, I stayed there. It was just amazing. It's just it's a very different world that a lot of people don't experience, especially on the west side. So it's very different. So it would be really cool to go. I would love that.
Yeah, no.
We got a question. Hold on, I got a question here. Favorite city to play in? Peter, favorite city to play in, and there's a Montreal sign, so I should probably say Montreal, actually. I'm kidding. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, Favorite city to play in. Sorry that I'm
No,
jumping
no,
in.
answer. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, Montreal was amazing to play. I always say, we always have it like, well, I talked to a couple of the people that either play or, play NHL, not in Montreal, maybe against Montreal, but if you do not get up for the game in Montreal, even if you're away or home, you don't like hockey, because that atmosphere for like playing the game is just spectacular. It's like the people live and breathe. So I would say Montreal, but you know what? I got fortunate because I really, played for the teams that had really great fan base, and it was just, it's in Montreal, like, Colorado is great, it's amazing, and it's special because I got drafted there, but LA is great, Tampa, I know people always say Florida is not as fun to play and everything else, but I have to say that Tampa is an amazing fan base. I think that their owner does a great job with the community, and before obviously Tampa won the Super Bowl right now, so, and Tom Brady's there and everything else, and it's but before that I think the hockey was the number one sport there. Like, it was so cool, and everything else. But now they're getting better with everything else. Like, you got the Rays, you got the Bucks, but Lightning always had a very strong base there. So even Tampa was great. So I got fortunate that I played for very great cities, so it was fun.
That's cool. I guess, you know what I should probably say? I should probably give a little intro as to for the people that don't know us as friends and our history together. Give a little intro on that. Peter and our relationship started back in 2014-15 when Peter got traded from Montreal to Winnipeg, and I was in the Winnipeg organization. And when he came to Winnipeg, the team sent him to the St. John's Ice Caps in the American Hockey League, where I was the development coach for the Jets. So we started working together that year. And then from that year, he became a free agent the next season and was looking for a place. And I ended up changing teams and went to LA, and Peter ended up coming to LA on a tryout basis, and then turned his career.
Because that was after my horrendous season that actually
I was going to omit that, but
no, you have to say that. I did not win one game the entire year in American Hockey League after played maybe 8 years in NHL. I came back to American Hockey League. I did not win one game. I think I was 0-9 and I think 4 or 5. It was.
I looked it up.
If that was a tough year, that was a tough year right there.
I looked it up. I think he had more like 7 OT losses, because 7
OT losses. Crazy.
Whenever I get interviewed about that time, because your story is quite awesome and how you resurrected your career, but ask about that year. And I was like, it's funny because throughout the beginning of that season, you were playing well, I thought. You didn't look quite happy, so I knew something was up, but you were still playing well enough to give the team a chance to win
a game.
and you would lose 2-1, 3-2, and then you could just feel that weight of pressure on your shoulders get heavier and heavier, and things just kind of got harder and harder as that year went on, and the tension in your face and your body, I could just see it pile on as the season went on. But that was the whole thing is that's how we started together and went through a lot that year. And I think it made us close in that sense. And then it was just, I don't know, the gods work in strange ways, because then you called me and said, hey, do you think LA would be a good place to go? And because I just recently signed there, and man, you just turned it, like, not just in a short time, like, man, it turned around fast. It was awesome.
Yeah. It's a great, I got asked that a lot, and usually when I do the Zoom with either goalie coaches or like people that I know, they always ask me about this, like, what have you changed and everything else? Because they I think that we live in an era that everybody wants to have a kind of like a secret, secret potion. What changed, And
Right.
I always tell them, it wasn't something that changed with my game. It was more mental. I think that, and I always tell them that when I was in St. John's, as you said, I don't think I played really bad, but my mental game, my focus was wrong. I was focusing on the wrong things, and you helped me out with that because you helped me understand it, especially when I came to LA as a walk on. I didn't have a contract or anything like that, but it was, I was focusing on getting back to NHL instead of just playing the game. And that took away huge from me to focusing on the right things. I was just focusing on other guys, how they're playing. Oh, this guy had a bad game, they're going to call me up, and all this crap that like piled up. And you can't get away from it afterwards. You try to, and a lot of people say to you, oh, I don't pay attention to stats and everything else. That's a lie, in my opinion, because everybody wants to, like I love these young goalies. They say, oh, I just go out there and play. I don't pay attention to it. No, you do pay attention to it. Don't tell me. You go to your stat sheet, you go to other guys' stat sheet, you compare. Like that's the nature of people. But I think that was the big thing that, when I came to LA, I literally thought it could be my last year ever being in an NHL dressing room, even for a camp. Like I had nothing. Like that was probably the worst year, one of the worst years that you can probably get as a goalie. I think there's not I didn't have any good thing from that year except just battle it through, just like we did, and we put in a good work together. And, I think Hellebuck was with us, and Connor was great. He worked hard too. And we had a lot of chats with him too. And I think that there's a lot of credit to you for that, to understand, to help me understand there's certain situations that you can't control. And, we as a people, we hate that. Like, I think in general, like we're very controlling, but also we're very short-sighted. We don't know what's going to happen. So, and then you help me kind of get the perspective back to kind of like just focus on just playing the game. Just don't worry about anything else and just play the game. And that helped me out a lot. I wouldn't have done it without you. That's why I'm always thank you, and always pump your tires, but not just because, but because that is actually the truth.
Well, it's easier even for myself too, to see, looking from an outside perspective, looking back at how things went with you and myself, and the move to LA, the opportunity in LA. The reason why I believe you changed things around so drastically, so fast, and some of it was, we talked about it, like when you were planning to come, I said, I honestly believe that you could totally become the best Peter Budaj you've ever been, but you needed to leave your accomplishments and your past at the door and start fresh. And like, you need to earn it as a new, young, excited hockey player. And the fact that you did take, full credit to you, you did take the challenge on, but it was the fact that you had lost all opportunity. You had no contract. It kind of forced your hand to start again. In that sense, that when you got to LA, and we started off on a positive note too, that we were already connected, and all that coupled together just led you to be able to just go skyrocket back to where you wanted to be. It was so fun for me to watch, and I learned. Everybody asked me, like, I learned from every single guy, everyone. Like when I had Hutch, Helly, all the other goalies too, like Okanora, different guys that didn't make the NHL or whatever, and then moved on to you and Soup. But when I had you, I learned, I made some big strides, because I realized the power of kind of how I did things can help. Because I really focused on you, what was going on in your pumpkin, in your head, because I watched it all the year before, and it was almost like you self-sabotaged yourself because your game was there. It wasn't like your body wasn't moving right anymore. Or you were getting too old. It wasn't like that. I could just see you, and you would want to get out on the ice more. I remember in St. John's, you used to be like, yeah, let's get out early. Let's get out, stay out late. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm like, okay, dude, you got to pull it back here.
Yeah, you got to get the hell out of the ice. Just get yourself
I used
rest.
to tell you that all the time.
I know. You're like, get out. I'm like, what? Why?
You'd be playing. You'd be the starter, and you would want to stay out longer than even Helly or every other player. And I'd be like, dude, you got to get off, man. Just chill.
Yeah, it's definitely what you said. Like, it's a different, as you said, I was forced to start over, and nobody wants to do it because, you start feeling like, oh yeah, I already paid my dues and everything else. And that was kind of like, when I went to LA, I had to really start over. I have to put myself, you're back in minors, you got to start over, start with a new sheet, clean sheet. Because especially sports it's a business of what have you done for me lately? It's got nothing to do your past or everything else. You have to keep proving yourself, keep going and keep pushing. And once you have this, as you said, like the accomplishments that I've done creep in your mind, then you should think that you should do well. But it's not like that. Sports change very fast, and it changes your point of view after you have a few years under the belt. And then when I went to LA, I literally was going there with, what? Start over, start from the new. This is like a new training camp, like a new kid coming to the training camp, and that's it. And it really helped me to develop that. And then when I start playing games, the games become. I wasn't there because I should be there. I was there just to be. I was happy to play. I was happy to have a chance to play again, meaning just take that one game as another chance of me playing, with the big boys. It was just great. So I kind of put myself, as you said, mentally to the beginnings. Start over and start fresh and start with the clean sheet again. So it was cool. It was a cool situation. So we have more. More questions here.
Yeah, I saw there's one from a Lightning fan page, and they wanted to know a tip from you, Boods, on. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Tip for you, like about the future NHL goalie.
Yeah.
Like, what should I do? And
yeah,
hey,
that's a tough question.
That's the toughest question you can probably ask. It's a question for that people have been asking for years. I mean, years. If there's one thing that you can pinpoint, what would it be? And there's not a one thing, guys. Like, I think it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of, obviously, I think the dedication is the number one thing. You gotta, like it's the hardest thing to do. I do it with my boy, my son, and it's trying to explain 10-year-old that sometimes you do everything for it and it doesn't work at the time that you are expecting it to work, and to persevere and keep going. I think in my opinion, that is, if I can pick one, which is, there's many other aspects that come into play, but I think we expect, if we put in a work, we need a reward after the work, but we want that reward in our time, and when we want it, when we are expecting it. But that never happens in life. That never happens in sports either. You just have to keep going and keep pushing. In my opinion, that you might not see results of your hard work for weeks, sometimes even for a month, sometimes even for the entire year. But those results of your hard work, the fruit of that hard work will always come. But you just have to keep going. There's a lot of guys, and I'm sure that in your career and everything else, and coaching career, playing career, you knew that there's a lot of guys that I've seen them work so hard, so much, and then at one point they just stopped working and they realized, they're like, well, you know what, this doesn't work anyways, it's over. But they were this close to that step. If they kept working, maybe that door would open, really, like you're hoping for. So I think just dedication to the game, dedication to your dream, and just keep going and and don't if you see failure sometimes, that everybody have experienced that. There's not a one person in the world that haven't. So I think it's just dedication, commitment, and perseverance. I think perseverance, and as Dusty we're talking about, and he can tell you, you're going to run into a lot of obstacles. So if you don't persevere, those obstacles are going to win over you. So you just have to keep going, I think.
A good answer. I think along with that would be very helpful for whoever trying to achieve whatever, not just goalies, but I think
Exactly.
if you go about whatever you're doing, whether it be goalies or whatever, and you're doing it because you have a passion for it and you love it, make sure that's your focus. That'll help you get through all the shit times.
Exactly.
Because there's quite a bit of shit as you get going, and that's what kind of separates a lot of people. It weeds out the herd as you move along, because a lot of people can't take a lot of the shit or don't know how to deal with it. But if you stay focused on the love of the game or whatever it is you're doing, and it sounds cheesy, but it's true. If you focus on, like you said, how you were that one year, focusing on the outcomes and where you needed to get to, you lose focus of the whole fact of why you're doing what you do. And it's not always going to work. Even if you love what you do, you're not automatically going to be an NHL hockey player, but it'll give you the best opportunity to do to reach your goals. And if you're doing it, I told Soupy this multiple times as he went along, because it would go up and down, up and down. And I said, if you're loving it, at the end of the day, if you don't become the NHL superstar, number one Stanley Cup winner, and you still love your life and yourself and having a great time doing it, and they're thankful and have gratitude, it'll all be good. And then it turns out that helps you play better,
Exactly.
but it's not necessarily up front in your face, methodical, I got to do this. But if you really start to believe that, better things happen along the way. It's not a guarantee, but it's a better path. I looked at our Insta here. We had another one. Someone asked me, Dusty, are you going to e-bug for the Kraken? Emergency backup for the Kraken. Well, if they want a 50-year-old backup, then yeah. they had another. I
can't believe Dusty's actually 50. That's ridiculous, because he looks 25. And you should see him moving net. Still get these young bugs, understanding that it's not that easy when you think about it. Yeah. So
last year when I was in Russia, the K, it was. I skated 4 times more than I ever did in the other years. It was like I skated quite a bit, and I started to get some of it back, but man, my body,
it was taking a toll. It was taking
a toll, man. I got maybe a one if I land another job, 1 or 2 more years of strapping her on for the boys. There's another question they had for you, Boods. I saw here, asked about Flanders.
Oh yeah, I saw that about that. Yeah. Oh well, it's a goofy story, but like when I was my first year in NHL, when I made NHL, I didn't know what to put on my mask, and the assistant equipment manager was Terry Gear at the time, and he always called me Ned, and I'm like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what Ned was. Like I didn't watch Simpsons. I had no idea, So he said, why don't you just put him on a mask? I'm like, that's just stupid. Like, come on. So I just put him as a small logo here. And then my painter, David Gunnarsson, he paints a lot of guys' masks, and he's from Sweden. And he says, oh, yeah, I got a great response from the people, from the fan side and everything else. So we just started putting it on. But basically, he said, like, I called you Ned. And nobody ever called me Ned because of, like, ever. It was just him. And the reason why he he was just saying basically that you're always happy, you're always smiling, you're always excited, to be there. He's like, I haven't seen you have a bad day. And when he was grouchy or whatever, and I just, have a smile on my face to the point that he was annoyed by me. So it's like, you're like just that guy, So I kind of understood that because I kind of watched the episodes afterwards, and it was kind of fun.
That's actually a good story. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a very story. Nobody ever told me that. Like, I didn't even know. I swear to you, I didn't even know what Simpsons was. I just came and I'm like, I mean, I've seen it on TV and stuff. I never watched it. So I didn't even know. I know, Homer and, Bart and all these characters, but I was like, I never watched it till because I don't think Ned is in every episode either. So it's like, it just pops up now and then. So it's like, I had no idea. So, but then he kind of explained to me. So it kind of, it was kind of funny. So.
I just thought it was cool that I'm big on whatever masks you use. I like when people stick with something that's them, and they change the design a little bit, but the theme stays the same because
Spider-Man, right?
Right, and nowadays everybody's got a different mask for every game, for every special game, for every
every jersey is a
ridiculous.
different mask.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's unreal that they get all those, but the reason why I fell in love with goalies was the mask. Is like that's who they were. It was like when they took their mask off.
That's your stamp.
I didn't even know you didn't even know who half these guys were if they didn't have their mask on. It was like a superhero kind of thing. That's who they were. The mask was who they were. Now everybody switches their masks so often they don't have that identity. There's not many anymore, really. Like Brodeur, he had the same mask.
Eddie the Eagle had always the same. Not the Eddie the Eagle, the jumper, but at Belfour, just for the new generation. At Belfour had the Eagle forever. Like he had an Eagle in Dallas, he had an Eagle in Chicago. He always had it, right? Like it never changed. So I agree with you. I think we live in a world that we want to like make other people more satisfied with what they want, and I think sometimes it's important, like if you have a stamp of yourself, and I'm not saying that the mask gonna make you something, but it's something that is unique to you. That's one of the pieces of gear, as you said. It's so unique for a goaltender. You always want to have certain things. I put net on it, but like I always had like my back plate of the mask. I always did the way I want to. I always told my designer, I'm like, toss in a net there, whatever, put little things there. But if you can, certain things I want to put there, it is going to be mine, because that's like, as you said, it's like your, it's your expression of like who you are, like what I mean. So I think it's a cool piece of gear that a lot of kids actually a lot of kids fall in love because of the gear and because of the mask. So it's a really cool thing.
That's the whole reason why I did the whole. Speaking of gear, I actually wrote it down. I was like, I gotta.
Bauer is the best, and Vaughn is not.
I gotta bring it.
I'm just kidding. Vaughn, I'm just kidding.
I gotta bring it up. As much as Peter and I are close, and I love Budaj, and I'm totally open. Goalies can however they want. Everyone knows that about me. I got no issue. I got all kinds of different goalies. Helly played one way, Budaj played another way, Soupy. But the gear, Budaj's gear, and I had no problem in telling him this every year. He wore this gear and I hated it. I was like, you gotta switch. And he was like, never
switch. Well, you know what? I've tried it once. So I went to, when was it? 2000. It was last year. It was so I went to I was doing a camp with the LA local team. They had some kids and they asked me to do some goaltending. So I went over right after I retired, and then Ontario Reign had a practice, and I think it was during the All-Star when Martin Ferg scored. He shot like 109 shot, and they had a day off, and I was there during the camp, and they didn't have a second goalie because Cal had off, and they just had a backup. And those guys that played All-Star game, the Stutzy gave him off. So I talked to Stutzy because I obviously went to see him, and Stutzy's like, "Hey, you want to play?" for practice. I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't have a gear. It's like, yeah, we'll get you gear. I'm so okay. So I strapped on the gear, and it didn't have anything. And they had what's the guy's now? Who's their goalie right now?
Volta.
Balta. So his pads was there, and he's got bomb pads. And I strapped on bomb pads for one practice of Ontario Reign, and it was amazing. I have to say, I never used Vaughn, but I really liked it. I really, really, really liked
I
it.
tried for years to get you.
I know, but I'm a loyal guy. So I mean, I like my Bowers. They're my special thing. But I have to say, for that one practice, those balls were amazing. So I really enjoyed that. So it was fun.
I did say though, in all the years you and I are together, the 1 year I did really push hard for you to get out of those ones. You switched to those stupid block things.
There, yeah. I that was not for me. It's for everybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
I mean,
It
look,
changed
it
how you
worked for
played. I was like shocked.
it does.
Yeah, this does not look right, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pad. I need a soft pad. I enjoy soft pad. I didn't like the blocking style pad, really stiff. And I think it's whatever Bauer is doing right now. They're a great company, but that pad didn't suit me. It wasn't something that was good for me. So
it was amazing actually when you got that, because that pad that you wore for all that time, they were not going to make it,
they didn't make it. Yeah.
You had to tell that story. You had
So
to
I had to
yeah.
I called was it the Hockey Monkey? I think is it the Hockey Monkey store or something like that? They had my old pad. It's like 8 years old. Speaking of that, I still have that pad, and when I go play right now with the alumni,
That's what you use.
That's what I use, and that pad is maybe like 9 year old. Like that pad is old,
Yeah.
and they said they're not going to make it anymore because they're making the new S1s and the Odin whatever the pads. Right. And I said, okay, so I called the trainer and this is like, hey, can you buy this pad off this website and give it to me? So I'm like, yeah. So we bought the pad off the website, and I kept using it at the end of for the end of it. So actually, my last game I played in those pads, so that was kind of cool. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I was like, I knew it would make a difference, but as soon as you went back into the other pad, it was like, holy shit. he definitely is meant to be in that pad. I won't say anything more about Vaughn. We were talking offline here. I mean, before the pod started about your coaching. Right now, you've been coaching some younger hockey players in Arizona and getting your feet wet that way. And we've talked to each other about you making that step into the pro ranks and into the development role, kind of where I was. Did you always know that you wanted to, like, while you're playing, like, yeah, okay, so when I'm done, I'm going to be a coach, or did you just think I just want to be in hockey, or what was it?
When I starting with my career, starting to go to like starting to feel that I'm getting older and stuff like that, like what's the next step? So I always want to be part of the game. I always felt like if I wouldn't be, I would miss it. And then I feel like I can give back from my experience and everything else I've done to the younger kids. I remember when I was a kid, and I know it's a cliche and everybody will say it's cheesy or whatever, but it's something that I remember when I was a kid. If I would have whenever I approach a goalie or ex-goalie or NHL goalie, it would be more interesting for me as a kid to learn from them. So I felt like I can do that, and I like the game. I like to study the game. I still watch NHL. I still watch the highlights. I still, when I coach right now, the kids, I have a lot of clinics with the younger kids, and I see the tendencies what goalies do right now. The game is evolving. It's changing, and the goalies have to adapt with it. So I think that I'm trying to like see what's going on, and I like to study the game. I like to spend time on a video and watch the game. So I always felt like I would enjoy it. That would be something I would be good at. So I think I always wanted to do it, but never thought about that until like my last like 2 or 3 years. That I think that could be something I can be good at. I can kind of contribute and something that I would be interested in and it would be fun for me.
Well, I think you'd be really good at it. I think the combination of your dedication and how you treated the game, and yourself as a person in your career, I think could translate really, really well into coaching. And I think you had a huge passion for the game while you played, and if you put even half of that into your coaching, I know you'll be successful. I was telling,
Thank you, appreciate it.
yeah, I was telling Peter off the air that if I land a head job here in the NHL, that him and I could maybe be a good combination and moving forward. It'd be pretty cool actually to
That
have,
would be super cool.
yeah.
I don't know if that ever happened. I don't know that if there's a head coach and assistant, like a head coach and
Yeah, yeah.
development guy, or
That would
like
be,
with like a coach. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty
yeah.
fun.
I that would actually be maybe not a first, I don't know, but it would be pretty special because we seem to keep getting reconnected. You know, when you left Winnipeg, it didn't take long. It was like the next year we were right back together again. So
That was the funniest thing because I remember at the last meeting at the Winnipeg when we were like in St. John's when we were doing the meeting with the GMs and everything else, you're sitting there and you were talking to me afterwards, like, I don't have a contract right now.
yeah,
I don't know where I'm going to end up. And then you text me, like, hey, I'm ending up in LA and everything else. And then we talked about it. And then I was actually speaking back in the day when you told me that you're in LA, I kind of wanted to do that. But I was like, man, LA just the year before, 2 years before, they won a cup. They were a very good team. They have all the goalies. They just won the Calder Cup, with a minor team. They had 2 good goalies and everything else. I'm like, come on. And my agent was like, yeah, you should try it. I think that's a good fit. I'm like, come on, like there's not a chance there, like it's like literally like they were stacked. Like they had the depth, they had the really good goalies in minor league and everything else, but everything kind of fall in place. And then it actually all went good afterwards. So it was kind of everything fall in place. Like one guy got picked waivers, then the other guy got hurt, then whatever happened, then he had to leave. And then it's just like they had all of a sudden there was nobody else except me. So, so it's like, and then the goalies in minors was like, it was me and Razor. Remember? There was 2 goalies in minors, like me and Razor. That's it.
Yeah. No, it sometimes though, but that I'm a firm believer, you call me wacko or whatever, but I'm a firm believer that the whole law of attraction thing, you send out the good stuff starts to happen. And you had a different attitude that time coming around. You know what I mean? You just were like, you know what? I'm just gonna play each scrimmage, skate in the camp and have fun, play hard, do the best I can. And then all of a sudden one guy goes down, one guy leaves, next guy's out of there, and it was like, boom, Peter, you're starting.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you might even have got a shutout the first game.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was the very first game we played in. It was in. It was Bakersfield. I remember Bakersfield, and Stutzy came to me, he's like, "Hey, you're gonna be starting," and we had me and Razor, so I started, and I was like, "Man, like," and like, imagine starting the game like, I was in a PTO, like a tryout contract, whatever, and then I haven't had a win in a year almost. So it was like, oh my goodness. And now I'm going to play for a team that just won a Calder Cup. They lost both of their goalies. And now, like it's an expectation. So like, oh my goodness. But it worked out good. So, we had a very strong team that year too. So that helped out a lot. So, and Stutzy was doing a great job. And, I love the way Stutzy was doing the coaching because, like he understood, I was a veteran. I had a few years in my belt, but he was very straight shooter. You know how Stutzy is. Like he doesn't care. And like he told me, he even told me, I was like, hey, listen, I didn't like your game that day. This is what we expect from you. This is, he called me in the office and he did all those things. He really was straight with you. And he would stick to his word. Like he would literally stick to his word. He would never change something behind your back. If you needed something or wanted something or do something, he would come to you, call you, talk to you, and that was really good. And I think that can help me. I don't know how is it with the coaching or sitting right next to him all the time. But I like when I just got in the office, talked to him, and then leave.
Though we were the best combination for that, because he would go in, tear you or whoever an asshole and a new asshole, and then I'd come up, you'd come out, and then I'd go walk over, find you guys, and it'd be like, I'd bring you back down to earth and pump you back up and calm you guys down, and you'd be like, huh, it's all good. But it was like he is the funniest, most intense guy though, man. He is so intense. I just got a comment here on our Insta. Someone here just said, oh my goodness, the best goalie I've seen. And and the best goalie coach. Thanks, Ali.
If she both, I'm good. No, I'm trying. I'm trying to do stuff. I always talk to my kids. I have a 5-year now. He's 6 now, so he's like, "Oh, Dad, you were the best goalie ever," and everything else. And I said, like, you know what? I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best. There's a lot of great goalies way better than me. But I always told them, I always left everything out there. At the end of the day, as you were touching up to, the love of the passion for the game, that is your reward. Like if you love something, that first of all helps you overcome adversity. It's not just in sports, in anything. It's your friendship, job, marriage, anything. That's the whole point of that. If you don't love something, if you just like it, it's easy to quit because you don't care for it. When you love something, you don't want to quit because you love it. It's a very different mindset. And I always tell my son, like if you love it and you want to do it, doesn't matter if you didn't score well, doesn't matter if you didn't play well, doesn't matter. But you have the satisfaction when you're sitting in a dressing room after the game or practice that you left everything out there. You did everything for something that it was in your power. The rest of it's going to take care of itself, as we talked about. It's something that is just the way it is. That's the part of life, and that's why, like I always tell people, sports and hockey in general. It's a great learning for the kids, not only as be an athlete and do stuff that they love, but it's a great teaching lesson for life. It's very similar to life. There's going to be so many obstacles and everything else that you need to overcome in life in general. And whatever you do, as you said, like whatever you do, you want to be an engineer, whatever you want to be, it's always going to be some tough times that you have to face. And the sports, you can really like relate to it because, as things in hockey happen so fast. You can make a spectacular save and then next shot from the red line can go in. It's the reality situation, or the next 3 shots are deflected and it's 3-0, even though you're having a great game. And now what is going to be your response as a person, as a player? It teaches you a lot. It makes you grow as a person, not just as a hockey player, but also as a person to learn from it. So it's pretty cool.
Someone was asking me, I did an interview a while back. Someone asked me about, highlights, my coaching so far or whatever. And there were three things. There's so many things that stick out to me. Like every guy, like even the guys that never say made it to the NHL, I enjoyed each and every one. I've had some great people. So I hate to single out, but there were 3 that I would bring up in the interview. And one was obviously when I backed up Jonah. That
must have been cool. I see the picture right there behind you. Look there.
Yeah, that was the number one, and the other was Soupy. When he played in the All-Star game and turned his career around, similar to you, and then surprised me by wearing my number on his jersey. Awesome. That was pretty cool. And then the third one was that I got to be a part, since you and I had been together and went through a lot of your ups and downs, got to be there with you at the very end. And got to watch you celebrate that with your family and see you retire in Ontario with the Reign and in the Kings organization. But that doesn't happen all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you see people retire and stuff, but like it just felt different. It was like probably won't get to see that with Soupy or Cal or Helly or any of these guys that I've coached. You just the I was very thankful, grateful that and lucky that I just happened to be coaching you at the end there, and got to see you play your last game.
It was very special for me too. I remember I have the picture of me and you hugging at the end. You were there throughout my toughest times.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often for a goalie coach, especially with the game changing and becoming younger. And it is a very dynamic game of the personnel and have changed and everything else.
Yeah.
But for you being there when I had the toughest time, when I was low, and then being there when I best years, the numbers I put on in LA. With you in LA and the numbers I put on in Ontario, like I had 42 wins out of Stasi played me all the time. And then everything we're winning, and then at the end, it was really cool for me too, and I'm gonna cherish that, and I think the Ontario organization did a great job of doing all of that. I didn't even know. I didn't even tell anybody. I just told one of the guys ahead, and then all the guys wear my shirts and everything. It was just, I was very thankful for it. They did a great job. They put a video on it. It was pretty cool, and it was pretty fun.
They did do an amazing job.
They did an amazing job, and I always tell that, I never expected it. And
I got goosebumps right
now. Yeah, it was very special, and because I didn't know that they're going to do that. At the end, I was just leaving the ice. And then, Satsi, our captain, grabbed the microphone to say something, and the video came on and everything else.
Yeah.
Even I think we were playing the Calgary farm team, and they stayed on the ice too.
Yeah.
And, that was pretty cool. So everything else. I think I got a question here. Somebody says, it's like in Slovak, he says that one of my very memorable game was versus in 2006 against Russia in Olympics. And I remember that game. We won 5-3. I think Datsuk scored a goal that I want to have it back, but I remember it was a cool game. But man, Marian Gaborik scored that game 2 sickest goals, man. Like he just took a puck, and he was on the line with Hossa and Dimitra, and he just took a puck and just fly down the wing and just shot a couple times. And Ilya Brizgala was in that, so we beat that team. That was pretty cool. So I do remember there. So it was pretty good. It was fun. There's another question here. I don't know if you see it. It's like, what's the number one thing a high school goalie aspiring to higher level should know?
Oh, she probably didn't hear the first.
The first part, yeah, where we talked about it, yeah. But we've talked about it, so you can check it out. But I always said one thing about this that I haven't mentioned yet. It's people, as I know from my career, so I played in Slovakia, and I went to juniors, and you always think that you're working your hardest and everything else. Then you go to another level, and you see there's another level of effort, another level of commitment, another level of everything else. And everything you go to higher, you realize there's more levels than you actually understand at the point when you're, let's say, in high school or something like that. So, just keep climbing. I think that's really good. So there's also one more from a LA guy called the Big Hurt, 1979. It says, do you have any superstitious ritual that you would do before a game or in net? Ooh. Do you have any superstitions, Dust, when you played?
I don't know if I would call them superstitions, but I had
ritual.
Habits. Yeah,
ritual.
Yeah, and maybe if I didn't do it, I'd get a little bit pissed because I was like, that fucks up my mojo. Sorry, my podcast is not G-rated. I can swear, but
make sure you put PG on it.
But I did this thing, the way I would hit my hands and smack my pads a certain way, and it was kind of crazy. But I did it always when they would be in the D zone face-offs in my zone for a face-off. I only did it then, but if the ref didn't give me time to do it, I used to get so mad. I'd be yelling at the ref. I'd legit be yelling at the ref. I said, you can't do that, because it would screw up my mojo. But I don't. So is it a superstition? Maybe not, but kind of.
I think it's kind of like a routine, as you said. I completely agree with that. Like, everybody has their routine. I believe that if you believe in superstitions, like, and eventually probably going to end up being superstitious anyway, but if you believe in superstitions, they can always say, as you said, if you don't do it, it can screw your game. And I always felt like a lot of people, I don't know, I felt that, like, I definitely think that I had a certain way that I tap my pads, and a certain way I tap the post, a certain way that I stretch, certain plays where I stretch when I played, when I was backing up, all these things. But I feel like if you believe in superstition, it's people can then find an excuse. I always find, like, if people had a bad game, and there was a lot of superstitious people that, in sports in general, and you can find the reason why you had not a good game. Like, if you say, oh man, like, I forgot to do this, like, you kind of like excuse yourself a little bit in the head that, oh, that wasn't really my fault. It was just like bad mojo, like a lot of people would do that, because they would kind of want to get themselves help to get over that little thing. You know what I mean? So, and then once you win a game, you got to keep doing the same thing, and I mean, Kucherov, like, he would score a goal, sick goal, and he would change the stick right away. And I was asking him, like, why are you doing it, Kuch? And he's like, I don't need that stick. I just want to make sure that, I can do it with the other stick too. But that's part of a superstition too. You know what I mean? Like, it's when you think about it, it's just a big mind game that you play with yourself, and you play with your psyche and everything else. But I don't know. Like, I always, tap the post a certain way before the game starts. As you said, like, I tap the pads a certain way. I did certain stretches, when I got in the net. After the Zamboni went on, when we were going to play, I scraped the ice a certain way. Everybody does that, and it could look like a superstition. It's called maybe like a calming mind, but maybe it's just like a little trigger for you when you do that. Okay, the game is on and stuff like that. Everybody has to have that little switch that, like, get them going. So,
well, if I would say the majority of professional athletes have routines, because that's what's made them what they are. You get up, you do your workouts at certain times, you go do this at certain times, so you do the same thing when you play the game. I mean, it kind of sets you up. The game changes as the game goes on, but if you stick to your routine, you kind of give yourself a better chance to play at that same level. When people say, do you have a superstition? Probably not, but I definitely had routines for sure.
Yeah. There's another question here. It says, Peter, what's better, white cage or silver cage? I know you used both in your career. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. It's most of the time like what you want to have on the max. Sometimes I change it because of the paint job, whatever looks better. But I do believe that, like, some people, a lot of goalies who play with the darker cages, like, black cage or like a dark blue cage, and I never tried it. I always felt like, I don't know how it would feel, but I think that, have something lighter so you don't have to have distracted. You had silver cage. Yeah, there you go. Oh, you got that big deadly bar in front. I like that.
Silver.
I like that.
Silver. White's ugly.
It's not about the looks, right? We don't care about that.
All about the looks.
Yeah, I think we're living in a world. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, Dusty likes silver. There's a lot of guys like my countryman, Jaro Halak, and I have a lot of Slovak guys here on the chat. And Jaro Halak has like different types of cages. I've seen him, I think in Islanders, he uses a dark blue, and he uses different types of things. So it doesn't bother him or doesn't anything like that. I think it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
A lot of people wants to see the way they look, and some people maybe like, silver cages the way, like, when you're in the net. So that's another thing. I was speaking of cages. The whole year, the first year when I retired, I didn't play net the whole year. I played one alumni game for Colorado. I think it was in Vail, and it was and then I haven't played until here when I was in Arizona. I got asked to go on the ice to skate with like Austin Matthews and McDavid. They had like ice here. So they asked me if I can go play for them. So that was like 8 months before. But that's the one thing that was, I always felt like the gear's gonna feel different, like when you put on, it's gonna feel kind of like, awkward. But the thing is, it was the cage, man. Like I had to get used to it at the beginning. The first practice when I put the cage on, I didn't have it for a while. That was something that was like, like, oh, okay. You know what? You kind of, you got into it after like a few minutes, but the first moment was like, whoa, this is different, because like you kind of forget the whole thing, because when you play, you don't even know that you have a cage. It doesn't even seem like you have a cage. So it's like that was something that was different for me after I didn't wear a goalie mask for a long time.
I saw that actually on Instagram. It was a bit of a thing. They were like, who's that goalie in that? Because they were talking about Austin Matthews. And I don't know if you saw, but like there becomes comments are saying, yeah, that guy's getting lit. Because and then someone commented, that's freaking Peter Budaj, you idiot. He's retired now. And they're like, because they were saying it's freaking Austin Matthews and he's coming down on quick breakaways. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah, like Austin Matthews, it was pretty fun for me to like experience those both guys. They're both like, probably like the best players in the game right now, if not the best player. I think, they're amazing. But it's funny, like, how they compete against each other too. Like, they always try to pair up, like go against each other. It's great to see, like they wanted to improve their game, both of them, and it was a great time for me, like Austin has a great shot, the McDavid speed is ridiculous. Like it's just incredible. So it was great.
Are the kids, you said you're going to have to go take the kids somewhere or pick up?
Yeah, at 12 my time. So it's like in like 30 minutes, but I'm like 5 minutes away from the school by walking. So I'm fine.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. So I live I walk.
Mr. Mom a little bit right now?
No. Mama is here. My mama went somewhere. So so I'm going to pick up because I actually enjoy picking up my kids. Yeah, it's the coolest thing when they come in the school bags and they see the dad or mom and they run to you. It's the fun time. So it's just my younger one. My older one is the full day and my younger one is half day.
Awesome. Well, hey, you know what? The funny thing is that Insta thing was pretty cool. It was just something.
I think it worked.
Yeah. I think
next time we have to be prepared better. So we need to like tell people that we're going to actually do this. I didn't know we were going to do it. That's why I was just telling you. I'm like, I texted you this morning. I'm like, hey, is this live or not live? So, we can kind of promote it a little bit, get people going here. So it would be fun.
No, that's awesome, man. Hey, you know what? You got to get some goalie things going down there. And I'm going to tell our Canadian government that's essential for me to be down in Arizona.
So you got to come, man.
So I can fly down and
better weather than Vancouver right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, did you hear about Texas?
Man, they got like snowstorm. My buddy, one of the goalies that I did a couple privates with, he went to the Dallas tournament, and they got like, man, they're like crazy, like no power, nothing, like a huge storm. Like it's crazy.
No, it's bad.
It was. Yeah, I heard that.
Like it's bad. Not so much. Everyone's making jokes about it on social media that they're whining about a little bit of snow, but the bottom line is they don't have anything to deal with that. You know what I mean?
No, they don't know. Like it's Texas. Like, are you kidding me?
So, like the power outages, and we're not talking small power outages.
Like big.
Yeah. So no, I actually got a text Patty Dolan there. He's in.
Oh yeah. How is he doing? What a beauty that is. I love that guy. He's awesome.
He's doing well, actually. That guy, I honestly believe, from not a hockey player to a video coach, I think he's going to be a GM. I really do.
He understands the game. Like he's pretty good.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a GM.
Yeah, he's a good guy too. Like he's a very nice guy. So that's awesome.
Plus he's got that ugly business look. He looks the part like a
ugly business look. I hope there's no GM listening to this. That's for sure.
That's probably why I still don't have a job.
They're like, I'm never gonna call this guy. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, somebody asked me, "Do you still speak Slovak?" Of course I do. Of course I do speak Slovak. Come on. I mean,
half the questions on here are in Slovak. I'm looking.
I know.
I can't even read.
I was trying to respond in Slovak too, and I did. But it's I do speak Slovak. My Slovak. It's funny how that works because like right now I've been in North America longer than I was in Slovakia because I left when I was like 15, and I've been in North America for 23 years now. And when I talk to my parents, sometimes some words just come to me in English now. So my parents are like, "Are you kidding me? Like you gotta speak Slovak and everything else." And then when I talk to them for a while, and then I start talking to my kids, I say something in Slovak. It's kind of like messing me up right now. So, but yeah, I do still speak Slovak. I'm gonna be always Slovakian. I don't have a U.S. passport, just a green card, so I do still things.
I should ask you before we let you go here.
Oh, Dusty, for you question right there. Look at that.
What do we got? Do you want me to ask questions in Japanese? Whoa. Well, you can. I probably won't understand it anymore. I actually.
Yeah, this is one thing before we go. Like I have to ask you. My wife used to speak Japanese because she used to go there for summers and everything else. She was younger. She used to be fluent. Now she says like she forgets everything. I'm like, how can you forget everything? And she's like, it's a hard language and everything else. There's a lot of little things like it's difficult. So I'm like, I always give her crap for that. I'm like, you should have kept it because she was able to actually write it too.
Yeah.
She was actually read and write. So
it's like, still in me. I can, I've watched some TV stuff and it comes back a little bit. So it's not gone. But when you don't speak it or to anybody, because my parents are both gone and my grandparents are both gone on my Japanese side, so I don't speak it at all. And I haven't been back to Japan. I don't know if you know this, Boots, but I haven't been back since I played. So
do you still like talk? Do you have any friends that you still talk to?
There's just through social media and stuff, a few, but that's one of my regrets. I do have that's a regret, but it's like so far out of the, like, it's not a place you just decide to go to, like, oh, I'm going to go head over to Tokyo, I've never gone back. I retired in 06, I think, or 06, 07 or whatever it was, 05, 06, and I haven't been back. So we joke about that trip. But I definitely, I always thought I would set up like some kind of hockey school week.
Man, if you do, let me know. I'll be there every day.
And I said that I told guys like Oli, buddies of mine like Oli Kozig and whatnot, that if I set this camp up, would you guys be interested in coming over and doing it? And it just kind of has never come to fruition. And to be honest with you, with this whole Corona bullshit, it's kind of
but Japan is pretty smart for amount of people they have on a small island. They don't have as many cases. Like they're pretty, it's I always say like it's people is like, how is it possible? It's like the people listen.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody, but like people listen here. Like you say something, I'm not gonna do that.
That's a whole other thing, political, and I try to stay away from it. But all I say is like Sweden seems to be doing okay. That's all I'll say.
That is very true. That is very true. My buddy asked me, he's like, "Have you have any of your old helmets handy?" Let's see. I do have my old helmets handy. So maybe I have a goalie friend in Sapporo. That one of the person says, "That's good. Look at that. All things."
It's tough. You when you do the Instagram live at the same time as your podcast.
I know you just keep switching in between back and forth. You're like,
I would be interesting when I listen back and do the editing for this, because it's the first time I did it. I think it was really cool though, because people can actually ask some questions. I thought that was really neat. So, Boots, make sure you tell Taylor, give her my love and tell her I said
Same to your
hi.
family, man. Yeah, for sure I will.
Yeah, and seriously though, you get anything going in Arizona, uh, pencil me in there because I need to get out of the house here and get up. I haven't been on the ice at all.
Man, you need to come. Like, I want to do some camps in the summer, so I'm trying to get ice right now because Arizona did a pretty good thing. We didn't shut down. Like, Arizona didn't shut down. If there was a team that if the player get messed up with the COVID or something like that, they just shut down the team for 14 days.
Yeah,
but they kept the hockey going. So like we would have like people from like Vegas, people from like LA area, because LA is completely shut down for a while. So
yeah,
we had they did a pretty good job with the hockey just to continue here, which was great. I think compared to the other states, I think there was only like few states that were still, kind of like going even throughout the, like difficult times here. So it was good. Did you see this, Dusty? It's like somebody has a Regina Pats card of Dusty Imoo. I would love to see those pads. I'd like to see those pillows back then.
There's actually it's just over here. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but a fan sent me they're from Illinois, I think, letter and with that Regina Pats hockey card.
That is awesome.
It's pretty funny.
That is awesome.
So I
what year was it, Dusty? What year was that? I'm sorry, man.
Hey, dude, you can't talk anymore. You're old too now.
Still gonna be younger than you, though. We're old. We're both older guys looking in, from outside looking in. Hey,
man. Thank you so much for doing this. I had so much fun, man. I really
it was awesome, man. Thanks a lot. This was cool. We got to do it again next time.
For sure. Stutz did the same thing to me. Let's not wait this, keep it this long next time between talks. Yeah, we always
for sure
get sidetracked, but let's
bring like me and Stutz together or something like that. That would be awesome. Or like.
Well, I originally, when I was thinking of calling you, I thought, should I do like a Boods Cal Soupy one?
That would be sick.
It would have been cool, but the only thing is, you're retired. I told my wife this. You're retired, and my pod is different. I like to be more candid and open, and just let the conversation happen. With hockey players, it can tend to be a little bit pre-recorded in their minds of what they can and can't say, and
especially during the season, during the season,
and I didn't want to put Soupy and Cal in that pressure position if I asked them some questions, because I want it to be how you and I would talk off the camera. That's kind of how I want it to be, but I knew it would be more like that with you as opposed to Soupy or Cal or whoever I coached. I will have them on, but I'm looking for more of a relaxed opportunity because I know Soupy's hurt right now, and I didn't want to.
Yeah, what happened to him again?
You know what? I haven't reached out to.
Lower body.
I think it was something to do with his legs, maybe his knee.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
But
he was playing well though. Like he was playing good.
Oh, he looked great.
He looked really good.
Good in his head too, in his mindset. I think he'll be fine. I'll reach out to him and make sure he stays on the tracks.
Yeah, calm him down a little bit. Calm him down.
Yeah. All right, buddy. All the best.
All right, man. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on this podcast. It was great. It was hopefully people loved it too. People said thank you for that. So it was awesome. Thank you guys for jumping in on the live feed on Instagram. That's awesome. Appreciate that. I hope you had a good time and fun time with me and Dusty. Dusty's the man.
God bless, man.
All right, send to you. All the best to your family. See you, bud.
I want to thank Mr. Budaj for joining me on the pod. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's always a lot of fun when you haven't spoken with someone in a while and you get to catch up. When I speak with these guys, it really reminds me how grateful I am to be doing what I do. I've made some awesome friendships. I really have. So on that note, I will say sayonara, and remember, stay safe, stay connected. and God bless. Peace out.